This is a modern PC, and it's great. But you can't help but feel that something's missing. I think it might be what they call soul. Yeah, current day PCs are great and all, but they also make you feel like you don't really own them anymore. But a humble beige 30-year-old like this brings that ownership back. Might need a little bit of work, sure, but that's not actually work, it's fun. As a 90s kid, I had a dream. A dream of having the best looking PC of them all. How about we get one? And I ain't spending $300 on a modern all-in-one retro solution. After getting spared from becoming e-waste, a second life is a reward well deserved. But the prices on those gorgeous Aspires are nuts. There's no way someone would give me a deal on one of those. Or any Acer. But then, after days of searching, I finally found this. I also found this. An Acer? With an MMX badge? Looks pretty rough, but almost intact. Damn, that is nasty. But it's okay, I've dealt with worse. 25 bucks and it turns on?
Damn good deal.
He can't tell me anything about its specs, which makes it a mystery and explains the low price. In the worst case scenario, we just salvage it for parts. And I've never, ever owned a brand name machine before. Like most of us, I built them myself, but those cool PCs from magazine ads, they always fascinated me. Wait, a seller sent me a video of it turning on. And check out that sticker. It says it was assembled in Finland. Alright, that settles it. We're pulling the trigger. What's the worst that could happen?
1 week later.
Ew. The name Acer equates to boring office PC today, but the rise to success during the 90s remains fascinating to me. Founded in 1976 in Taiwan by Stan Shi, his wife Carolyn Ye, and George Huang, no relation, Acer was initially called Multitech Electronics Incorporated, had 5 employees and specialized in distributing of electronic parts and just plain bringing microprocessor technologies to Taiwan. At the time, only a few people like Stan saw the enormous potential of the semiconductor industry. She started producing Apple II clones named Microprocessor 2 and 3. In the 80s, companies like IBM, Texas Instruments and Commodore were looking to outsource their production. Thus, Multitech decided to switch to the emerging IBM PC-compatible scene. Why mess with the murky waters of cloning? Multitech already mastered PCB manufacturing and quality control. OEM production was the obvious move. In just 6 years, Multitech saw rapid growth, and in 1987 they rebranded. In Latin, Acer means sharp, capable, keen, and it's also easy to pronounce, no matter where you come from. Growing up in the 90s, I kept seeing Acer computers in PC magazines and advertisements, and took an immediate liking to them, probably because of the logo design. And just by looking at it years later, I'm absolutely convinced that out of all the later redesigns, this original logo still looks the best. It's nothing special if you look at it in detail, but as a whole, the overlapping diamonds, the font and the spacing that Acer was able to maintain across all the products and media they released, it just speaks to me on the level that only Apple's old Macintosh and ViewSonics logos do. But prior to enjoying all this 90s magnificence, I had to sanitize it. That poor thing was filthy. The very first thing I did before touching anything was putting on a pair of gloves, grabbing a pack of wipes, and rubbing it down. Hard. Getting any of that miasma on me was not part of the plan. Only then was I able to open it and assess what lay ahead. This particular machine is our tiny piece of the 90s personal computer history. An Acer AcerPower VA616M to be specific. Probably has a Pentium 233 MMX inside, judging by the plastic chip under the heatsink. Despite being 3 decades old, these machines are usually so well made and so sturdy you have to put them through the levels of abuse Army Unimogs usually go through with soldiers driving them like there's no tomorrow. Did you know Acer assembled computers in Finland? I sure didn't. Both countries of its origin and assembly is proof that Acer came and stayed. Judging by the warranty stickers generously sprinkled all over the insides of this machine, I'd wager the company is or was called Lang. The only Lang I was able to find is a telecommunications company that just celebrated their 25th birthday, which makes it too young anyway. And hey, despite being grimy, at least it smelled nice. It still does. Acer was becoming a prominent system integrator in the early 90s. Their 486 PCs were sold worldwide, and on top of that, Acer was building a lot of the components in-house and still offering OEM services to other big brands. Buying and selling components globally and assembling cost-effective systems established what we'd now call a global supply chain. But most importantly, Acer designed almost everything by themselves. Stan Shi was also great at spotting top-tier talent. People who went on to launch Asus set their foot in the industry at Acer. Their strategy was working because slowly but surely at a certain point they were able to afford a very expensive move that finally put them on the map. You could argue that Acer merely used Apple's playbook and followed the trail already blazed, to which I say they did it right. The PC market at the time was populated by the likes of Compaq, IBM, Apple, NEC, Packard Bell, and HP. All of them, including Apple themselves, were offering these certainly lovable beige boxes that, if it weren't for branding, were next to impossible to tell apart. This explains when and why Acer went for their bold move. Our specimen is also beige, but look at this curve. And about that smell, one thing is certain, this one was used by a lady who only had one perfume. I'm not a huge fan of her choice, but it beats all the possible bouquets old computers usually come with by a long shot. Yeah, the innards needed a little bit of work too. I'm willing to bet this was the first time this poor PC ever got a cleaning. The desktop problem of the motherboard moonlighting as a dust trade is on full display here. It's a typical deal of expansion slots sitting on a riser card. But thankfully it doesn't have any proprietary power or fan connectors, HP. Acer is a lot more repair friendly and it warms my heart. Even as a kid, I made the right choice without even knowing. 6 of the 7 slots are combo, meaning it's either PCI or ISA. We're also missing all the slot covers, but that won't be an issue. Now, unsurprisingly, Acer went with the Ali Aladdin 4 chipset, balancing performance and cost. An easy test given that Ali stands for Acer Laboratories Incorporated. They began as part of Acer Group before becoming independent. The Aladdin family found in systems like this was one of Acer's most successful chipset lines, competing directly with Intel, VIA, and SYS during the Socket 7 era. Although I'd wager that it's an inferior solution compared to VIA's Apollo VP3, SYS 5597 and 98 families, AMD's Iron Gate, and Acer's very own Aladdin 5. But thankfully, it's also not one of those earlier Ali or SYS chips. This V52LA motherboard featured onboard ATI graphics, in this case Rage 2 3D DVD Plus, wow that's a mouthful, to eliminate the headache of buying a graphics card and increase the number of expansion slots available, making it well suited for home and business desktop use of the late 90s. There were also versions of this motherboard with an inferior Max64 264 VT3 graphics chip, and some had a built-in networking solution. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have it. As you can see, we're missing these two chips over here. Luckily, somebody installed a PCI network adapter in it, and I hope we can keep it, cause we're gonna need all the slots. On my search for a bargain Acer, I was fortunate enough to get in touch with a gentleman who claimed to work in Acer's service center in the 90s. He confirmed that Acer powers were intended as office computers and didn't come with any special software and just bare Windows. And no onboard or extension audio was offered. But I know for a fact that it's not true. Having no audio would put them at a huge disadvantage compared to the likes of HP and Compaq. And the manual clearly states that built-in audio was an option.
Oh my god.
You can plainly see where the chips were supposed to be mounted. Creative's CT2510 Viber 16. Not a great chip, but it's an actual sound blaster, which was very desirable at the time. Sadly, I wasn't even able to find a picture of V58LA with a sound chip. There's also this clue pointing to the fact that at some point in its long life, this Acer definitely had a sound card inside. Acer did it right by introducing some Apple-grade style to the PC market, employing the famous Frog Design studio to come up with a new breed of PCs. And the name was just as bold as their intentions: Aspire. Every corner of the earth that had a worthwhile computer market got their share of marketing hype. Naturally, most of us wanted one. Mind you, at the time, buying a computer was a really big deal. And judging by how things are going right now, it might turn into one again. But depressing thoughts aside, back in the 90s, most families considered buying one of these an investment. Just like a car, they were intended to be used by the entire family, and most of them wouldn't be replaced for a few years. Family PC was a given back then. Siblings had to agree upon PC time for each. Mom and dad used it during daytime. Kids had their go after dinner until bedtime, which is when dad got to use it for as long as he could. Everyone in the family was looking forward to their time in front of the screen, and there were very few things in their lives they'd give it up for. While some people still scoffed at the idea, Aspire's design alone changed minds. It was sold to use a computer that could also serve as an interior piece. It might sound kinda corny today, but back then, it definitely turned heads. I've seen grown men pause their reading of a magazine article just to study an Aspire ad. And from the moment I saw one inside a computer store on my trip to Budapest, I was convinced that this was the best looking PC. No, the best looking piece of electronic hardware I've ever seen. Hook, line and sinker.